Morons in Love, a fanfiction by Shard of Hope. Thanks again! She smiled at the driver, waving as the taxi left with what little money she gave him. She waited until he was far enough away that there was no way to see her pretty face break into an ugly, ugly scowl. Mari was not a happy camper right now. No, she was not happy at all. She was back from college, and for once in her life, she didn't get delayed by a flight or weather. The plan was simple. Her now adult brother would pick her up at her school, and they would have the house to themselves for a bit, and they would go to the beach with all of their friends. She'd even gone through all the trouble of booking a steakhouse for the day, so on the way home from that long drive, she could treat her darling baby brother, who she loved very, very much. That was until she realized she was stranded at her sorority house for hours, and Sonny was nowhere in sight. She stomped up to the door, grumbling cause all the while now, she knew that there would be no prying eyes were upon her. She had a reputation to uphold after all. Hell, the car hadn't even moved. When I get my hands on that skinny emo twink, I'm going to wring the golf out of his corpse until I pour it out to eclairs and turn it into a fucking hot topic! She yelled to herself. She couldn't even use Hero as a source of stress relief, because that dumbass was still stuck at school for another week. And what was meant to be some special time with her special best brother was spoiled by him not showing up. However, she was also worried as hell. He had been radio silent for the past few days. That wasn't unusual for Sonny, but he didn't even confirm if he was going to show up or not when she texted him. She wasn't even going to pretend that their relationship was always perfect. An incident with the stairs come to mind, but she tried to follow that way. She was already upset, and there was no time for regrets. Sonny! She yelled through the front door, beating on it with her fist. I swear, if you swept through half a dozen alarms again, I am going to destroy all of that weird slime girl manga and make a paper-mache tribute to your virginity on the front lawn! However, her violent fist beatings revealed that the door was unlocked. As it popped open, slowly creaking wide. Okay. What is happening? There was no signs of gremlin-like behavior at all. No empty soda cans, no endless cups of half-eaten ramen, no empty 5-pound bags of shredded cheese. It's like her brother wasn't even left alone in here. The place was spotless. Shit, what the hell was going on? She was distracted as a blob of the Abyss Eternal leapt off a high shelf, aiming right for her dumb face. However, she knew this was coming and held her arms open wide. The cat cursed its shitty luck and was crushed in a warm embrace. Miwu, my girl, how are you? The cat replied, to human ears at least. The proper translation of her words would be far too rude and culturally insensitive to put here, so they'll be left out as for the sake of the rating. The cat struggled, if only to show that she was a strong, independent feline who didn't need no bitch-ass human, but stopped when Mari scratched her right between her ears. I know, I miss you too, Mari smiled, placing a kiss on the glaring cat's head. Too bad they didn't let cats in the sorority house, otherwise I would have brought you with me. Her smile waned a bit. Do you know where my brother is? This is all a little strange, even for him. Out of all the human-like things she had seen out of this cat over years, the wince at her brother's name, along with avoiding any eye contact, was the most obvious. Their cat has always been different, being a sentient pool of black fur and huge bright eyes, almost formless when she wanted to be. But this is a strange thing to see out of a cat of all things. Is it that bad? Mari asked the freaking cat of all things? Why the hell would she ask the cat? It's a cat! However, her feline friend just looked up the stairs, wincing again, and nodded. Mari stared at her cat. She had always joked that the cat understood people, but no, that cat has clearly communicated with her. Okay, she must be really tired, or her cat was the spawn of the devil's salty tears like that old guy in the cemetery said. However, finding out what happened to her brother overwrote investigating her weird pet cat. Mibu jumped out of her arms and walked towards the stairs. Mari followed after, ditching her shoes and dropping her bags to the floor with meaty thunks. It was messy, and she should take them upstairs to put them away, but fuck it. It's not like their parents were there to nag her into acting like the perfect golden child. At least not at the moment. Fuck it. Something weird was going on. Walking up the steps, she let out the snort. The plaque was still in its place on the wall, frame and all. Her brother had gotten it as a gag gift for her and her mother. He told her that he didn't expect it to last that long, but here it still stood. The Suzuka Murder Stairs, a heritage landmark, she reads. On this site, a young moron threw his instrument down the stairs instead of talking to his sister. Then his sisters threw soon after. Thankfully, her fat ass saved her life. She could remember her mother's face when they opened it. Sure, their father had chewed it out for his morbid sense of humor and mocking present, but honestly, Mari loved it. She knew the subject was a bit sore, but in a weird way, dark humor like this helped her and Sonny move past it. Hopefully not past it and down the stairs again. As she read, she began to hear something. It was music, all right, but not loud enough to be blasting at full volume, but enough to make its way through the closed bedroom door and into the open floor plan of the rest of the house. If she could strain her ears, she could barely make it out. Well, that sounded rather morbid, but then again, her brother bounced between country ballads, hyperpop, and classical music. His tastes, like her own, were wide-ranging and weird as anything else about the siblings. However, something about this song she didn't like. Her feelings grew stronger as she made her way up the stairs, but it was getting louder, and there was bright, flashing colors coming from the tiny crack from their previously shared room. Stepping through the door, she found her dear brother lying face down on the floor as LED lights she had installed a few months ago flashed in sync with the upbeat but depressing music. He was unmoving as she stepped into the room and shut the door behind her. Her sister's senses were tingling. You okay there, dearest brother? She felt her previous anger melt away into concern. Sonny wasn't looking too good, or smelling too good for that matter. He clearly haven't showered in a few days, from how the oil in his hair reflected the flashing lights as she turned them off. However, there was still no response. Sonny? She sighed as that depressing-ass music shut off. She didn't need to be reminded of his weird, edgy teenager face. Well, edgier than usual, at least. Still no response. So, she did what any self-respecting woman would do when faced with a maybe corpse. She grabbed a nearby yardstick and began to prod his side, right in the fleshy bit. After a few pokes, she thought her brother may have actually bitten the bullet if he didn't groan and try to swat away Mari's poking stick lethargically. Oh, there you are, dear brother. For a second I thought I'd have to bury you in the backyard. He slowly turned his head, his eyes bleary with bags that would put raccoons to shame. They squinted at her. Mari, you're home early. No, I'm not. I'm home late because someone forgot that I was coming home today and they were meant to pick me up, she said with a cheery voice and murder in her eyes. To her surprise, her brother appeared unfazed by her death glare. Normally it would have sent him scrambling. Instead, he just mumbled a sorry and went back to face down, finding comfort in her old cat rug. Soon enough, he felt something cold against his face. When he groaned and looked at it, he found a cold orange gel pressing into his cheek. As his sister sat near him with a bag from Mother Mart, only his sister would bring this slop for him to drink when she was feeling petty. He was thirsty, however, so it would do. But when he reached for it, his sister snatched it up yet again, tutting her young brother. No drink until you sit up and talk about what's wrong to your big sister, she informed him, placing it next to her, out of his reach. Evil. Pure evil. I may even have snacks in here. And as if prompted, his stomach began protesting the lack of food it has been given over the last 3 days. Although he didn't want to ruin a perfectly good depressive episode, his bodily needs outweighed his need to be sad, so he sat next to his sister and cracked open the can. As Mari watched him chug down God's biggest mistake like it was life-giving water, she decided to do what any good sister would do, pry into her brother's life so she could figure out why she was being such an emo bitch. So, any reason you decided to lie motionless on your floor for days? Well, besides bad brain chemicals? She was no stranger to her brother's mental issues, but normally he would warn her about it when it was getting worse. But this came out of nowhere, and due to this, it left her rather worried. Yes. He answered her as he threw the now emptied can into the trash. Mari passed him another as he continued the drink. Wow, he must be out of it to drink this shit willingly. You gonna tell big sister why? No. he answered after the second can. After he did so, he just slowly slid down the wall until he was flat on his back, staring at the ceiling. He was much less likely to crack if he wasn't looking at his noisy sister. However, he was brought out of the good depressive episode he was attempting to return to by a loud crunch and the spray of crumbs across his face. Seriously? Oh, sorry. I'm sort of hungry. I had reservations to a steakhouse, but I had to drop them because someone didn't pick me up. And here comes the guilt trip, right on time. He knew at most. He just inconvenienced his sister, but he was doomed to a lonely, sad life now, forever single, and kept company with only his virginity and the endless cats he would adopt. He was just picking out names for them as another spray of crumbs washed over him. Okay, she was doing that on purpose. When he went to level his glare at his cunt of a sister, he stopped, dead in his tracks. Within her grubby midst was the only thing on this earth that he would push another person down the stairs for. The black icing was perfectly smooth and glossy, the black outline was bordering the crooky crisp, the cute button green eyes were symmetrical, and the mouth of whiskers, the cat-shaped cookie looked smug enough to rival his sister. The bakery cat cookies were back? When? Oh. Do you want one? Mari asked as she bit the ear off first, watching her brother wince and begin to tear up. I talked to the Bread Twins and got 3 dozen of these. I know they're normally only around for Halloween, but they owed me a favor. She shrugged as Sonny's hand shot out of the reach for the bag, only for her to yank it back. Nope. Only good boys who talk about their problems instead of moping get cookies. Otherwise, I'll just eat them myself. You are a gigantic cunt, Mari. He mumbled as he sat back up, his weak noodle arms pushing him back into position. Only when you're being such a little bitch, Sonny. She bit the other ear off the cookie cat. The pumpkin spice cookies were the best. Now, are we going to engage in verbal communication, or are we finally going to get you diagnosed? Sonny stared at her for a bit, weighing the pros and cons of letting Mari in on one of the worst things that have ever happened to him. She would be smug about it for ages, but only after some time. Fuck it, he needs to get this off his chest. Fine, give me a damn cookie. With cat confection in his claws, he began to regale her with the most horrible events that had transpired 3 days ago. I like you! Please go out with me! Sonny screamed, head held low and flowers extended. This is it. The moment of truth. He had been building up the nerve to ask out Kel for weeks. He had gotten the flowers, the orange joke, chocolates, a shower, and a fresh pair of formal wear. He had invited him to the secret spot for a bit of small talk, but as soon as he saw that tall, tanned teenager, it was game over. He just blurted it out. It had been a hard decision, honestly. He had known from an early age that he was a bit different. Puberty, besides giving him enough height to beat Basil and Aubrey, had also decided to check every box when it came to his sexuality and laugh at him. He was Pan. Everyone knew that. He didn't make it a secret that anyone he thought was cute or nice or was a crush of his. They faded what was harder to deal with was the fact he was polyamorous. He had, well, given up the dream of marrying all of his friends and living in a big house with 3 dozen cats. That wasn't feasible. What even were the chances? So he had to choose. And in the end, it was Kel he felt the closest to. After the incident with the stairs, everyone distanced themselves for a while. Even Basil. That was fair. His actions almost took Mari away from everyone. However, one person stood by his side. Kel. Kel just laughed it off when Sonny tried to push him away and knocked every single day. It was Kel's experience of being a younger brother as well, but he had refused to condemn Sonny for his actions. Kel said, yeah, it was dumb, but I get it. Siblings can drive you up a wall. Or down the stairs in this case, I guess. God damn it, he fell hard for that moron in a single moment after that. Even lost in his thoughts as he was, he began to register the silence that followed. Oh no. Dare he look up? Dare he face the music and possible rejection? He could remain like this for a while longer, waiting until he died, or Mari to come for him or something. He didn't need much food to survive. He was forced to look up when he heard Kel shuffle around in place. A hesitant expression on his face, and a hand rubbing the back of his head. I'm flattered, buddy, he said. Sonny could already feel his heart cracking. But... Kel paused, trying to find the best words. Sonny was, however, trying his best just to keep from crying on the spot. That was okay. Rejection was okay. They could still be friends. But I am already taken? Oh, if that's the case, then that stung a bit less. Sonny stood up, straightening out and sniffling, trying to force back his tears. He could cry at home, mope and move past this, but not in front of Cal. Oh, Chris? His voice warbled. God, he was pathetic, but he still wanted to wish his best friend the very best in life. No, Aubrey and Basil. It was at this point that Sonny's brain froze. Excuse me, what? They were polyamorous? What? Why? When? He had pizza with them 2 days ago, and there wasn't even a hint of this. Well, except for Basil holding Aubrey and Kel's hand, but that was just Basil. Basil still clung to Sonny when the sun started to go down. He just assumed it was normal twink behavior. Maybe Aubrey calling him baby girl wasn't sarcastic after all. He was just out of the loop. Oh, congratulations. How long have you all been dating? Sonny asked, his voice quieter, to avoid a cracking or the creeping sense of envy becoming apparent. It was okay. It was okay. Everything was gonna be fine. We would all still be friends. Oh, we've been dating for 4 months. I thought you knew, honestly. Oh, this kept getting better and better. His friends, the people he loved the most in this world, had been living his dream while he was stuck unaware. He knew that extra tutoring for pocket money was gonna make him miss out on important things. Then again, I did want you to join, but the rest of the group vetoed me. If Kel wasn't so oblivious, he could have perhaps seen the exact moment that Sonny's heart shattered. His shoulders slumped as he let the bouquet of cactus blooms fall to the ground, his hand going limp. The arm holding the chocolates was beginning to shake. Kel was too busy trying to remember the reason why it was vetoed for him to ask Sonny. Huh. Damn his brain. He knew this was important, but it was on the tip of his tongue. Oh yeah, they didn't want you to know because you'd be weird about it and they didn't want to deal with it. Ah, the first blow was struck. Sonny's eyes widening and his form slumping even more. But Kel, of course, excited that his 2 neurons sparked together in a way that was beneficial to him, kept going. Oh, I remember now. They said that if you knew that you would try to join even if they said no, and that you would be annoying, clingy, and sorta creepy. With each word, Sonny could feel days being stripped off his will to live, but could not move away from those cutting words. Aubrey said that she already knew about your perverse way and wanted nothing to do with your strange interests. And Basil said you'd make him sort of uncomfortable sometimes, so Aubrey thought it was best not to tell you. Kel paused for a bit, frowning. Although, calling you a black-haired incel poser was a bit much. Oh. Okay, Kel. Sonny was no more. No, he had been laid low by words and scattered to the 4 winds. What hope he had for today joined it. He was less than human now. A soulless husk remained. Well, at least he knew Aubrey was lying that one time. What girl would say it wasn't that weird when walking in on you looking at Slime Girl manga? He handed the chocolates over to Kel. His eyes went vacant of all hope as he managed to mumble, Here, take this. I won't need them with what I'm gonna do. What's that? Kel asked, tilting his head. Somehow, he was completely unaware how he destroyed a man with a few sentences, somehow doing what Aubrey had been trying to do for years. I'm gonna make some toast in the bath. Oh, okay, Sonny, be careful, he called after him as Sonny shambled like the Walking Dead out of the clearing. Don't drop the bread into the bath, it gets all soggy and gross. Kel watched him leave before breaking open the chocolates. Huh, that had gone better than expected. At some point in the story, Mari pulled her brother close to her and began to slowly stroke his hair. It was only natural for a big sister to want to protect her baby brother, but this was a whole different beast. Poor Sonny. It was a good thing none of those motherfuckers were around right now. She may have been the one to almost raise them, but she was just as capable of taking him out. Then what? She asked, tentatively, because honestly, if Piero had turned me down like that, I think I might have tried to hang myself. Dark humor was banned in their household. After all, idealization could lead to actualization if you weren't careful, but sometimes it was needed, and she needed to hear the laugh that bubbled past his lips, mixed with a sob. She rubbed his back and waited. He did eventually respond. I don't have any jump rope lying around. It was her turn to snort now, as he reminded her of the Panic Blonde's attempts to cover up her supposed murder. They would never let him live that one down. But, nah. I just came home and cried for a day. Then I just been lying face down since. I mean, I'm mad and hurt, but they're still my friends. Sonny muttered. Everyone talks shit in confidence. And I think Kel didn't know that I was private. This would sting for a long while, but it would pass. He couldn't bring himself to hate them forever. Just for now. He would let himself be hurt. But he began to hear Mari sniffling, breaking him out of his angst. Mari?
Sorry. I don't have the right to get all teary right now.
She said with a smile, wiping her eyes.
I just can't believe how much you've grown.
What? Sonny raised a brow. Sure, he had spent 3 days disassociating in his room in an attempt to escape his sadness, but maybe Mari was the one who finally lost it.
You are. The little vindictive little shit I grew up with is now a surprisingly mature man.
Mari complimented him, offering him a cookie as she held it close to his mouth. He rolled his eyes and took a bite out of it, his ears growing red.
I'm proud of you, really. You took rejection on the chin and didn't do something dumb or petty.
She grinned at him.
But not too old to be fed a cookie by your sister, eh?
The smugness was almost enough to put Sonny off the cookie. Almost. Fuck off down the stairs. He mumbled as his ears glowed brighter yet. Mari just laughed and got up. Normally, this would be step 1 of 3 dozen of her teasing Sonny plan, but he deserved a break, just this once. She got up, popping every vertebra in her back. How Sonny found the floor so comfortable while keeping a perfect posture was a mystery. Maybe he had a Death Note antagonist syndrome or something. Love you too, brother. She responded with a clap of her hands.
Okay, you're going to go take a bath while I get the supplies.
For what, exactly?
Sonny, my sweet baby brother, we are going to have a nice night in to celebrate your first rejection.
Sonny could imagine her throwing confetti if she had any. Most would find this irrelevant behavior, insulting or harsh, but honestly, he loved it.
So, I'm going to go to Other Mart and use Mom's credit card for steak, ice cream, and all the junk food your endless stomach can muster.
Her grin grew sly.
And then, we shall play the forbidden game.
You can't mean impossible. Mari herself had destroyed that thing after Aubrey almost killed Basil for stealing all of her tofu in the last turn.
I do mean Space Boy Party 4. If we survive that RNG hell without murdering each other after the massive screaming match is over, we can binge all the Space Boy movies.
Well, what about the Sweetheart movies? Mari stopped, giving him a curious look.
I thought you hated those movies. Mari, although a massive fan, would admit that they weren't the best. But watching that donut bitch somehow win at everything in life amused her so. Her brother, however, did not. In fact, the last time she had asked him to watch them with her, he had busted out an entire slideshow to explain why he hated her. She should have been mad about it, but honestly it was an entertaining 3 hours. With citations in MLM format, at least she didn't have to worry about him struggling with research projects when he joined her in college soon.
I don't, but you do. Sonny shrugged. Besides, consider it as payment for forgetting to pick you up.
Aw, my brother is so sweet.
Mari hugged him tight, pinching his cheeks all the while. Those dumbasses had no idea what they were missing out on. And tomorrow, she was going to have words with them. She wondered if there was enough space in their backyard for a few graves.
Now go shower. You smell like ass.
Sure that isn't your shitty purple dye job? Sonny asked as he wormed his way out of her grasp. She just laughed. It was good to be home.
Thanks, Polly!
Basil and Aubrey had called Kel to talk about something important today. What it was, he had no idea. What he was currently focusing on was carrying this tray of vegan dino nuggies to Basil's room. He had no idea that vegan stuff could be so good. He thought it was a dinosaur shape. At least Kim agreed with him on this.
Hey guys!
He said with a full mouth. His girlfriend and boyfriend were too busy looking at a notebook to spare him a glance. He swallowed his mouthful and looked over their shoulders.
So, what's all this about?
Aubrey looked at him and sighed.
Oh, god damn it. Do we really have to ask him, Basil? We could just go and do it, and say sorry for not telling him earlier.
Her face was bright red and she was already grumbly. Basil must be teasing her again.
Oh, come on, Aubrey.
Basil said, his smug, adorable face and teasing tone making Aubrey bury her glowing face in her hands.
Is my big, tough girl backing down from a simple confession? We've been planning this for weeks. But emotions are gross as shit, she mumbled, looking up at him with a glare. But you're enjoying this, you little fucker, making me gush like some anime schoolgirl. Bashful is an adorable shade on you, I agree. But that's besides the point, Basil said, popping a dino nugget into his mouth. The point is, we need to make sure Kel is on board. It is a group decision after all. What decision? Kel asked, clueless. Aubrey, being the huge badass that she was, decided to cower it out and stuff 4 dino nuggets into her mouth. Basil looked at her and sighed. Of course, he was gonna have to do all the heavy lifting. We were gonna ask Sonny to join us, Kel. Basil put slowly and softly like he was speaking to a child. And we wanted to know if you were okay with that, or felt the same way about Sonny that we do. Kel blinked, staring off into space for a little while, confusion apparent. I thought you said you didn't want him in the polycute. Huh? Now it was Basil's turn to be confused. The blonde figured Aubrey and his attraction to the pessimistic teenager was rather apparent. I mean, come on. Yeah, you said he was weird and pervy, and that if he found out he would nag us non-stop about it, so we were never gonna tell him. You even called him a black-haired incel freak, Cal answered. I thought that was a little mean, but, I mean, you feel how you feel. There was silence for a while. Basil just looked further confused, and Aubrey was too busy chewing fake meat to answer. However, when she swallowed it down, she just glared at Kel. What are you talking... Oh! Aubrey smacked him upside the head. Kel, you dipshit, we were talking about Mikkel! Basil's expression lit up when he realized what Kel was talking about. Oh yeah, I remember. He was hitting on me after BB broke up with him. I don't want to go anywhere near that mess, to be honest. Both Aubrey and Basil laughed. Kel did not. No, Kel just stared off into space. If you listened closely, you could hear the panic screaming ringing out inside his mind. What he should have done was go to Sonny and explain this entire misunderstanding. However, his brain decided to just blurt out words somewhere that could get him killed. Oops! Kel, the light of my life. My sweet, sweet boy. Aubrey slowly crawled over. Kel, Kelsey, sports boy and himbo extraordinaire. She continued her sweet nothings. However, Kel, although stupid, knew that he was in danger, and so he had the common sense to flinch as soon as he cupped his face with a hand, squishing his cheeks. What the fuck do you mean, oops? Promise you won't be mad? Wow. Her forehead vein was really starting to bulge a lot. Oh, he may be dead already, but everyone makes mistakes. I'm sure she would forgive him. Deciding that the intimidation didn't have much of a use if she couldn't understand this dipshit, she let go with a vice grip on his cheeks and glared him down. He rubbed his cheek. I promise I will try, she said, lying through her teeth. Okay, so, Sonny asked me out. He had flowers and some sweet-ass Orange Joe chocolate. Kel laughed, not noticing the glares he was getting from both Aubrey and Basil. It wasn't anger. No, it was pure, unadulterated envy. Both held a rather high opinion of themselves, and Basil had spent his entire adult life attempting to be an alluring forest nymph, and Aubrey cultivated a look that made you question if your pelvis would survive. So, for Sonny to ask out the one person that put little to no effort into their appearance, well, safe to say that both were planning on where to put the body. I mean, after all, this polycute was built around the mutual love of Sonny. Yeah, but my brain did an oopsie, Kel continued. And when I mixed up what you said about Mav with Sonny, so I told him that we were all together and that you two thought he was gross and weird and you didn't want him knowing. Kel's neurodivergent fuel ramble was cut off as Aubrey put her hands around his windpipe and began to squeeze, and unlike all the other times, there was no safe word given beforehand. You stupid son of a bitch! Aubrey screamed as she straddled his chest, shaking his head around as he attempted to wring the life out of him. Do you know how long I wanted to kiss Sonny? Do you? Kel attempted to claw at her grip, not having the amount of grip needed to tell her that it wasn't time for a fun time. Aubrey just continued as Basil stared into space, his anxiety slowly building. No! No! I'm gonna kill you! And hope Sonny will accept that you were alone in his bullshit and offer your corpse as a tribute!
Aubrey continued to shake, and Kel was turning a little blue when Basil put a hand on her shoulder.
Aubrey, we have to see Sonny now.
She spoke with a calm, soft voice. This should have rung alarm bells in the other two, but Aubrey was too consumed in her rage, and Kel had less air going to his brain than usual.
Aubrey, I don't think you understand. I understand, that's why we must offer blood tribute! Aubrey, Kel said all these things to Sonny.
He paused for a moment, and Aubrey released her death grip from Kel's neck. Oh no. Oh no!
Sonny is really sensitive, and I doubt Kel would have let him down easy. We need to see him and straighten this out now.
Tone of authority is not something either of them expected out of Basil.
Why?
Kel gasped with a wheeze, his head still spinning from the lack of air, and not in a fun way.
Should we let him cool down? It depends, Kel.
Basil asked, his voice wobbling for just a moment.
Is Sonny the kind of person who would take such a violent and mean rejection on the chin? I mean, just deal with it in a healthy, normal way.
Aubrey, seeing where this was going, filled in the blanks.
Or is he the kind of person who would go home and punch his own ticket over something like this?
The question hung in the air for a while. Nobody dared to answer it verbally. All just mentally chewed on the question, until Kel broke the spell with a single word that would send them all into a panicked motion. Fuck!
Chance time! Chance time!
Mari screamed as she clung to her controller with a death grip. Sonny just watched this with a bemused grin. Mari had insisted that they marinate the steaks for a while before wolfing them down. So, as they waited, Mari grabbed a shower, and decided to start a 20-turn game of Space Boy Party 4. And like every time they played the game, things quickly turned to bullshit. Mari's hair hadn't even begun to dry yet before the shit show began. Since there was only 2 of them at the time, they decided to set the computers joining them to easy. This would allow the siblings to shit stomp them with minimal effort, and focus all their energies on the fucking each other over. This, however, turned out to be an act of hubris that the game had not taken lightly at all. Sonny watched as Sweetheart was confronted with the demon of random number generation that had emerged from the disc in chance time. Those dead, soulless eyes, their soft, squishy body. Clearly, a demon summoned from the bowels of licorice hell to punish them for their mockery. Snally. Somehow, that little marshmallow fuck managed to get a lead on turn 2, when he got a hidden tofu block. It was only downhill from there. It was a comedy of errors occurred, where Mari was the butt of the joke. Every minigame, every item swap, every sprout mole tofu steal was leveled at her. Sure, Sonny got screwed over too, but nowhere near as bad as her. At this point, he was just playing to see how cranked up her sister got, subtly helping the computer beat her ass. Mari watched with bated breath as the marshmallow hit the blocks, and her hard-earned tofu was stolen from her. And was watching her with excitement. Oh boy, this was gonna be fun!
Oh, you pale white whore!
Mari screamed, swinging her controller halfway across the room. He watched the cheap third-party piece of shit shatter on the wall, an explosion of plastic and cheap. Holy shit, this was the best day of his life. But just when as his perfect sister was about to crack in a flurry of gamer words, trademark, they heard the doorbell ring below. Sonny quirked his head at her, wondering if she ordered takeout or something. Mari just looked pissed, but took a slow, shaky breath and stood up.
I'll get it. I need some air anyway.
And she was gone. Oh well, might as well clean up the controller pieces while he waited for her to return. Mari, however, was seething. She forced down her anger, swallowing it down so it didn't consume her from the inside out. It's okay, she could scream after they dealt with whoever was at the door. She would feel awful if she exploded on anyone who didn't deserve it. She was mature, she was graceful, she could do this. Then she opened the door.
Hello, how may I help?
You. Her smile began to crack as soon as she gazed upon the people darkening her doorstep.
Oh, it's you 3. What are you doing here?
The trio was surprised by Mari being here. They knew she was coming back into town at some point, but still, it was a pleasant one. However, that happiness died as soon as they looked into her eyes. They were alight with fury.
one that made her serene features all the more intimidating. Aubrey realized that Sonny may have talked to her sister about what happened. She was a little protective of her brother, but if anyone would be willing to hear them out, it would be Mari. Right? Hey, Mari! Could we, talk? Kel attempted to break the ice. He was the one to cause the trouble, however. He was interrupted as she slapped him across the face with a newspaper. No! We won't talk. I am going to talk to you for a little while, okay? Mari smiled and all felt someone walking over their graves. You have the fucking gall to come here after all this shit you were talking about, Sonny. I thought I raised you better than that, but apparently you're all a bunch of vapid cunts who wouldn't know a good thing unless it slapped you across the dick! All were cowed by that. They'd never seen Mari angry before, much less hear her use such profanity. They were all cowed for a moment, but one among them reacted predictably. Cal, sweet Cal was an optimist at heart. He believed somewhere that everything would turn out right in the end, that people were inherently good, and that love would conquer all. Maybe that's why he made the awful decision to open up his gob while he was being murdered by Mari's eyes. Look, Mari, this is— He was stopped by another whap with her holy newspaper of wrath and an angry wagging finger. No, look here, Kel, she said, poking his chest violently. My brother asks you out, and what do? You cut him down without an ounce of kindness or compassion. You just kick him in the romantic dick and then take the chocolate? I don't know whether to think you are cruel, fucking stupid, or unaware, or a combination of all the three. I know you got ADHD and enough learning disabilities to make Helen Keller feel pity for you, but fuck! Could you not have created some words that spilled out of that thick, orgeat-tainted skull that didn't send my brother into a depressive state? Maybe a little kindness? She punctuated each sentence and harsh word with another violent newspaper whack. Aubrey, who would normally be kowtowed by Mari of all people admonishing her, bristled at her boyfriend being insulted so openly. Look, I know he fucked up, but— Oh, so now you're big and brave enough to talk to someone's face, eh, Aubrey? Mari, her attention taken away from the tall, lanky teen's watering eyes to her. Oh, maybe this was a mistake. Weird enough, you weren't brave enough to talk all that shit directly to Sonny's face. I guess you never grew out of that bullying phase, huh? You just hit it well. That hit Aubrey like a punch to the gut. She attempted to keep her brave face up, but she could feel the tears prickling in her eyes as her lip wobbled. Mari knew the guilt she felt about that lost year where she was a piece of shit, lashing out, and pointing out that she hasn't changed at all. Mari, No, I don't want to hear a thing out of you, Missy. I invite you into my home. I feed you. I let you bathe and crash here. And this is how you repay me? Shit-talking the boy you used to fire goo-goo eyes at every day? Clearly, I failed you if you turned out to be this much of a vapid cunt. Mari, this isn't what it seems. Hazel finally mustered the ability to interject. If you would just listen. You know what I wish Sonny listened to? Your suggestion to hang my ass instead of calling the ambulance. Mari knew this was a bit too far, but honestly, she loved the look of shock and hurt on the blonde's face. Maybe they would feel what Sonny felt. So instead of letting me down constantly like you are right now, you'd only leave me hanging once! Hazel tried to say something, but just sputtered and whimpered. He was never good at confrontation. So Mari decided to end this bullshit before it could go further. God damn it. I love you all like my family, but I can't even begin to describe how much you fucked up. I am so utterly disappointed in all of you. Now piss off! She shooed them all away with a limp wrist. If I have to keep looking at any of you right now, I'm gonna need 3 jump ropes and an alibi. She then proceeded to slam the door as hard as she could. Well, she tried to slam the door, but at the last moment, Aubrey stuffed her boot within the threshold of the door, so it slammed against her foot with a crunch. Aubrey let out a whimper as Mari opened the door to slam again. Wait, Mari, please, seriously, this is all just a misunderstanding. Oh, what? You were talking about someone else? Some other Sonny you were bashing? She raised her brow, slowly reaching behind the door for something that packed a bigger punch than some rolled-up paper. What could you possibly have to say? Kel, taking his chance to fix his mistake, decided to act. If there was one thing that Kel was good at, it was just pouring out every thought he ever had in his head. It was time to use his mental illness for good. Because I confused them shit-talking Mav with Sonny! I never would have think that about Sonny! I've been crushing on him since the 3rd grade! What?
Omori was confused enough that she didn't keep attempting to break Aubrey's foot. Kel saw his chance to prove, and he took it.
I've been crushing on him since he shared his lunch with me. He was always kind to me when I was a little shit, and I always thought he would make a great house husband forever.
Basil then interjected, seizing on the idea.
Me too. Sonny was the only one who listened to me when I was dealing with my absentee parents. He didn't make fun of me for wanting to hold his hand, or needing a hug when I was sad. He always listened to me and made me feel important. I've been crushing on him just as long as I never asked him out, because every time I tried, he started throwing up everywhere.
He exclaimed, waving his hands all over the place. Both of the boys looked to Aubrey. He was too busy glaring at the ground to meet anyone's eyes, but she wasn't fooling anyone today. With how her face matched her hair, both the boys nudged her, trying to force an answer out of her. Mari looked a lot less angry than she was before, just confused. There was one more confession left to make sure Mari believed their intentions, so Aubrey had to do the one thing that she never, ever wanted to do. Talk about her feelings.
Aubrey, do you have something to say?
Mari asked. Her tone was measured to the point of being unreadable. Mari just stared at her, and she could feel Kel and Basil's eyes boring into her too. Oh, god damn it, she was gonna have to be mushy.
Sonny is the best friend I've ever had!
She screamed, deciding that if she was gonna pour her barbed wire wrapped heart out, she was going to be loud about it.
He listened to all my problems at him and helped me out the best he could. When I pushed him away after the stairs thing, he didn't even hold a grudge. He was the one thing that can see right through all this tough girl shit. Just walk past every defense I've ever made. I wanted to ask him out since forever, but I'm just not good enough for him. None of us are.
Basil and Kel blinked. Is that how she felt? Well, that was no good. But before they could go and comfort their best girl, who was almost sobbing at this point, Mari beat them to the punch. The older girl wrapped Aubrey in a tight hug.
Don't you ever say that about yourself again.
Mari spoke to her softly as she cried into her shoulder. She felt a little guilty for letting all that poison spew out of her mouth so easily. But it was clear everyone was fucking up today. What mattered was making it right.
I couldn't be prouder of you.
But Sonny hates us now.
She blubbered, not noticing the two extra arms coming to hug her.
We messed up.
Oh, sweetie, Sonny couldn't hate any of you. Honestly, he was just ready to respect your decision and live with the envy.
Mari almost laughed at the expression they all gave her. Oh my god, they didn't know? Maybe there was a more interesting way to salvage this after all.
Envy?
Aubrey asked, trying to clear her eyes of the tears as the hug broke apart, although Kel put a comforting arm around her shoulders.
Why would he envy us?
Well, because he's Polly and Pan, sweetie. And he's been crushing on all of you for years. Mari adopted her smug smirk as she watched the 3 pairs of jaws drop.
Honestly, you could have all made him yours years ago if you just sacked up and asked him.
Fuck me!
Basil murmured, slowly cradling his face into his palms. Mari did laugh at the sudden crude language coming out of Basil of all people. Kel was just grinning widely as Aubrey adopted an expression of disappointment at herself, sighing.
We are morons.
Yes, you are. But honestly, I sort of like that about you all. All eyes shot to the source of the voice. Sonny was sitting on the sofa, peeking over the back with a smug little smile. Aubrey could feel her cheeks heat.
How long have you been there?
She demanded, all that bluster back in full force. Embarrassing herself in front of her big sister figure was one thing, but embarrassing herself in front of her forever crush? Well, she had to hide the embarrassment somehow. The entire time. Sonny smirked wider as the 3 began to blush and shrink. They all looked adorable when they wished the earth would swallow them whole. And also, it's a yes.
What do you mean, yes?
Mari asked, looking at her brother. The trio watched as the siblings communicated with just their eyes for a moment before Mari lit up.
Oh, how kind of you to grace them with such a dear gift, brother.
Well, I am a kind and forgiving soul, dear sister, Sonny said, blatantly lying as he sat back on the sofa. What I mean by yes is that I will accept the invitation to your little love pool. Sonny waited until they were about to erupt on 3 conditions. And then they wilted, looking sheepish. Kel did tank my self-esteem for 3 full days, after all. We'll do anything, Sonny, Kel exclaimed, walking stupidly into Sonny's verbal trap. I really want to make it up, too, he added sheepishly. Okay, The first one is that we will have a group date where Mav can see. Sonny grinned as Aubrey paled. After all, I want him to know what he will never have. Also, I just want to see if he will have another incel breakdown. Fine. What else? Aubrey snarled. She was not happy with any of this. She knew how vindictive that little shit could be. She will have to feel bullshit from Mav for a month at least. Then she would need to deny all of his wheezing advances, trying to get his way in. Ugh, that bastard should just ask out Angel already. There was something between those two, she swore, but Sonny knew what he was doing. He was resigning her to deal with a perma-virgin. If this was her punishment, then so be it. Second, I'd like you all to have a sleepover tonight. Mari bought way too much junk food, and I need people to help me eat it all. Sonny said through his smirk and half-slitted eyes. And maybe you can help me in other ways too. Mari had to do her best to try not to laugh as the trio nearly combusted on her doorstep. Basil was the first to break out of Sonny's spell.
And 3?
I want Basil to flash me. Now all eyes were on him. Basil was famously prudish, to the point where not a single soul had seen him without his top off. Nobody wanted to push the issue, because nobody wanted to make him uncomfortable. But Sonny decided to take advantage of the current situation. Now, little brother, Mari started, but she heard a rustle of cloth behind her. She whipped around, but only found Basil blushing brighter than the sun itself, slouched over himself with both hands on the hem of his sweater vest. Sonny was also rather red, but had a self-satisfied grin on his face. Wow, I didn't know you were brave enough for nipple piercings. Aubrey whipped around, staring at the blonde.
Excuse me, what?
Mari turned off the TV and got up. Her back popped several times as she stretched. She didn't allow herself the moment to look at the adorable scene before her. All of them had passed out mid-movie marathon. But that wasn't the cute bit. No. They were all cuddled together so close. Kel's head was lulled back and snoring, resting on the back of the sofa dead to the world. In his lap, her dear brother Sonny snoozed, still in his PJs, clinging to Kel's chest as it was his last lifeline in the world. He mumbled something in the Kel's chest as Mari began to pick up all the empty dishes and chip bags. Aubrey was in a borrowed nightdress with a death grip on Kel's arm. Her head was resting on Kel's shoulder, her hair cascading down her face, and she mumbled something. Her unoccupied hand grasped around for a while before finding his target. Basil was lid down on the couch, the first to fall asleep due to his position on Kel's lap. His head threatened to teeter off of the limited amount of room that Kel had left him, but it has yet to happen. He hummed happily as Aubrey found his hair and began to scratch at his scalp.
Aww, how sweet.
Mari grinned. She should have left them all like this, dreaming sweet dreams of each other. However, Mari was a big sister first and foremost, so it was her job to embarrass the shit out of them. With 2 clicks of a borrowed camera, she had our blackmail material for the morning, and an extra one, just to make sure Sonny couldn't destroy the evidence. "Good night, you morons," she whispered, giving each a peck on the forehead before turning out the lights, making her way quietly upstairs. Ah, young love.